Well, good afternoon, well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. And I'm Tony Renfro, your host, and we're back again for another segment of Knowledge is Power Podcast, along with my guest, Miss LaDonna. Not my guest, my co-host, Miss LaDonna Sherwood. It's good to be back. We was off last Tuesday, uh,
Right.
and also we'll be back on Tuesday again with another good guest. But tonight, our guest is going to be CLONIE Ambrose III and CJ Delgado, who will be joining us. These are young Democratic uh, young men that are influencing and want to help get out the young votes. So right now, we're going to talk about what happened and what we're missing and what's going on in this past week. What you got going on, Donna?
We are super excited. Tonight we had the Riding with Biden event, and it started at 4 o'clock. We started at the Compro Event Center. We went to the courthouse. We went about Rogers Park. We went to the north end, to the Elmo Willard, and we went to the Democratic headquarters. We had a really great turnout at the Riding with Biden event. We have also been doing door knocking. We have been doing all sorts of get out the vote efforts for the past 2 weeks. And next week, we're going to be open for 7 to 7. So we're going to be doing all that we can to get people out for early voting. We are super excited. We are turning out in record numbers, and we need everybody to vote like their life depends on it. So we are super excited about that, and we are super excited about all the get out the vote efforts. And we're looking forward to it, and we are looking forward to tonight's show with the young people who are trying to encourage other young people to come out and vote.
All right. What about the Democratic headquarters? Well, I can address that. The Jefferson County Democratic headquarters, 2211 Calder Street, is still open every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday from 2 to 6. So if you are available, you want to go by and volunteer for an hour or two, you can get your yard signs there and more Democratic voting information about your candidate is going to be there as well. So with that being said, I going to see here if I missed anything else. I want you to make sure, people, that you tag your friends, loved ones, and let them know about our podcast. That's every Sunday and Tuesday evening here on Facebook and YouTube Live with Power Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. Tonight, my guest is going to be again CLONIE Ambrose III and CJ Delgado. These two young men are right now. Let's say, are just working on their studies right now. And that's to my bottom right is CLONIE, my Ambrose. CLONIE is a graduate of Wiley College in Marshall, Texas, and now is working on his master's at the Houston Baptist University, right there in Houston, Texas. And CJ Delgado is working on his master's at Lamar University. I welcome these you two young men here. I'm very interested. We talked before, and I was so impressed. I made myself a note and say, "Hey, I got to bring those young guys back because these are our future. These are our future young men, and they're helping out, trying to push the vote, push the young people votes out, and also first timers. And talking about first timers, Donna, what how our numbers look on first timers at the polls? Oh, she's blanked away on us. That's okay.
Oh,
Oh, that's
sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry. We are super excited to announce that we have had record turnout for the first 2 weeks of early voting. We have turned out numbers that are superseding 2008, 2012, 2016. We are far exceeding all of our prior numbers. Now, as far as young voters are concerned, the record numbers, I haven't really separated them, but I I'm almost certain that we are turning out in droves, numbers that we have not seen in decades. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to listening to the young people express to us what is their motivation? What is their motivation to get out and vote, and why? And what are they doing to encourage other young people to get out and vote? We are turning out in record numbers. We're super excited about that.
Right. And my friend Cloney, I'll let you address it first. Go ahead.
Well, again, thank you, Mr. Winfo, for again allowing me to come back on the show. I want to say that it is very important that we as young people get out to vote. The reason why young people should get out and vote is because we're the next generation. And I think it is very important, and I think that we should take it into consideration that after a while, uh, yourself and everyone else is going to need someone to pass the mantle down. So it is our job as young people, as myself and CJ, to encourage young people to go walk the streets and to go see, get people out to vote, get them involved in the community. And when we get people involved in the community, they will have a better impact, and they will look at, and the older generation will look at the people and say, I see greatness in that young person. It was Mr. Joseph Desitel who says that it was Mr. Joseph Desitel who took me to Washington D.C. with several other young people. He invested in myself and so many others that have invested in me. But I thank God for those memories. But again, it's our job as young people, as myself and CJ, to encourage people to get them out to vote. We see a lot of young people doing everything else. They can stand in line for tickets for a football game, basketball game, and they can stand in line for to get the newest tennis shoes that just came out. But we can't stand in line to exercise our right to vote. And I just think that it is very important that we exercise our right. And if we want change, we have to be about the change. We have to walk it. We have to walk it like we talk it. So again, we have to get young people out to vote, give them an encouraging word, and just push the exercise our right and do what we can to get the young people out to vote.
I agree with you on that, Cloney. I really do, and I am so impressed with you two guys. Each you and CJ is out there working very hard to get the young people out to vote. And plus, I know you're working real hard on the university campus at Lamar, also, CJ. So tell me what's going on over there.
Yes. First and foremost, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk on your platform once again. I do want to make a small correction. I'm working on my bachelor's, not my master's.
Okay,
I do look forward to eventually working on my master's in public policy. But for the time being, while I'm here at Lamar University, I do want to say that the Student Government Association is doing an awesome job on engaging the Lamar University student body. As for me, I'm working more directly with the Southeast Texas Young Democrats, and that's where I'm channeling, my efforts at this moment, because I feel that that's a good entry point to introduce, those young people to the Democratic Party, more specifically the local party. And I have to agree 100% with the things that Mr. Ambrose said, that we're at a time where, as young people, we need to most definitely um, analyze our priorities. It's in the current political environment, there are a lot of issues that directly affect us. And then there are those issues that will affect us in the long run. So for right now, what I'm doing to engage the young people is um, introducing those individuals interested here at Lamar University to the Democratic Party. A lot of them are very uh, anxious to kind of get involved already. So I point them in the direction of either, you do know this is the conversation I had with someone a couple days ago, where he's in his, I believe, his third year, and we were just chopping it up, and he says, I need to do something. I need to get involved with the community. And he's very politically engaged. And I told him, you do know that the Jefferson County Democratic Party is always looking for volunteers, right? And he said, really? I never knew that was a thing. And I said, yeah, you just go down there and sign up whenever you can. And he said, you know what, I'm gonna definitely look into that. He said, right now I feel that I did everything I could at Lamar University, and now I just want to broaden, the horizons and start working directly with those individuals that are making strides at the local level, but also at the national level. So that's one thing that I'm doing. Helping introduce them to the party. I mentioned it before as well that I'm also involved in the Southeast Texas Young Democrats, and that is an organization that specifically caters to the interests of young uh, Democrats, as the title states. So we're currently working on getting more events to gauge the young people. I know recently we had a success with our candidate series, and I particularly enjoyed the work that we have done with that because I believe that, and I always say this, an informed voter is a responsible voter.
Right.
So whenever we start doing these candidate series, shout out to Naomi and Jalen for putting that on. But I do feel that did a good idea. Did a good job to give general population idea as to what candidates were out there, because I know that a lot of people go to the polls and they don't know which person they're voting for. So I feel that as a young person trying to get out the vote, the first step is always getting the young people informed. And I feel that as soon as you inform them, you could get them to be active, because now they know exactly what they're or who they are supporting. So, in a nutshell, I like to say that civic engagement starts with civic education, and that's more as to what I'm doing in the community.
Well, CLONIE, why should the young people vote? Let's kind of express that for us. We know, but let's let the viewers know. Okay.
Well, why should young people vote? Well, I think number one, because their vote is in their voice. Um, if you want to affect change, you have to be about the change and not talk about it. So I think that's why every young people should vote, is because they're going to have a say in this, because your vote is your voice. And a lot of times, the reason why young people don't vote is because their parents never voted. As a matter of fact, their parents have never taught them, say for instance, how to be respectful or how to be mannerable to other people. So I'm thinking that that's why the young voter population has really, I think it has really gone downhill. I just want to say this right quick. Um, why should young people vote? Here's what I would say. Because in the state of Texas, 43% of the population is 30 years old and younger.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, of that 43%, 61% is black or brown. And that right there is a powerful voice if we vote. And we also say this. The Bible says in 1 Timothy 4:12, let no one despise your youth. Don't let anyone make you feel less than. Don't let anyone make you feel a certain type of way. Don't just talk about change. Walk into the booth and vote so that you can see and be the change that you talk about. And so
Yeah.
I think that's why every young people should get out to vote, exercise their right, because their vote is their microphone. Don't let anyone talk about them just because they're doing what's right. They're doing what's right because they're exercising their right to get out and vote. So I think that actual reason why young people should get out and vote is because, it's their vote is their voice, and we
And
just have to encourage young people. Me and CJ have to just encourage young people, give them an encouraging word, to say, hey, get out and vote. It's not going to take no more than about maybe 10 or 15 minutes to get in there to vote. So just do what you can, do what you think is necessary, and get out and vote.
LaDonna.
I would like to encourage the young people to vote because our ancestors have fought and died and bled and paid and gave and did so many things for us to have this opportunity. I think that oftentimes we don't impress upon the young people enough the way that had to be paid in order to get this opportunity, that it wasn't free, especially for Black and brown people. We did not get the enfranchisement in order to vote by happenstance or willy-nilly or just by accident. We had to pay first. There was a poll tax. So in order to vote, you had to pay to vote. In order to vote, you had to read to vote. In order to vote, you might get your house burned down. There was an article recently where the people that voted in a particular community, I think it was in Florida, they burnt down the whole community of Black people that voted, and they had to create a tent city where they lived in tents because they took their opportunity to vote, and the white people didn't think that they should have the opportunity to vote, and because they want to disenfranchise them and discourage them, they burnt the people's houses down. So I think that oftentimes to encourage our young people, to let them know that the people that came before them, not only did they bleed and suffer and die and pay and all of these other different things, it was a bunch of stuff that went into the opportunity to vote. For you to even just go and say, I got the right, I have the franchise, I am not disenfranchised, I am enfranchised, and I can exercise my voter rights. In the beginning, guess what? We weren't even a whole person. The 3/5 compromise, we were 3/5 of a person. So in order to move from that up to voting, to have an actual voice, an actual opportunity, I think that sometimes we need to make it plain to the young people what all went into this opportunity, that sometimes I think it's missing and it's lackluster. When we go to vote, it's like, oh, it's no big deal. But our ancestors went above and beyond to garner the support and the initiative to even get up to this point. It's a huge deal. It's not just about, oh, well, I don't like the candidates, or, oh, well, they don't represent me, or, oh, well, they're not saying what pertains to me or what I would like them to say, or it's not my best candidate, and all of that's fine. But the more you stay home, the less we get a say in what happens in our future. And that matters.
Right. Hey, now, speaking of that, CLONIE, you mentioned here, and I think we talked about it. No, we discussed it, but why is there a lot of empathy among young people right now
Can you
today?
guys hear me? Did
I,
my phone break up?
I hear you very well. Very well. Yeah. Okay.
Could
Tony,
you
I
repeat the
think
question
you're
one more time?
frozen. Well, on another note, I also feel like it's important to vote, simply not because that the ancestors paved the way to vote, but because guess what? Oftentimes we're not happy with the people that we're voting for. But
Why?
I always say this: it's important to let people in office know that heads will roll. And in order to make heads roll, you have to first go out and get your people and gather your coalition and get your camaraderie together to let them know we are not going to accept business as usual. We are not going to allow you to carry on in Washington, D.C. or local politics the way that you have been carrying on. We will show out in record numbers, and we will get your ass out of office. You will not be representing us lackluster and happenstance and half-ass. You don't want to do what we need you to do. You don't represent our issues. You don't represent our problems and how we feel. We will vote your ass out. You gotta go one way or another. We coming. I think that young people have to get energized about the nature of voting and what's gonna happen and how it's gonna happen. And if we're not happy with the candidates that are representing our community or representing our legislator or representing our Congress or representing our Senate, guess what? The best thing that we can do is show up at the polls. Let them know on voting day. Let them know on election day. I'm not with you. I don't like you. I don't support you. I don't believe in the shit that you selling me. You selling me a dream and I ain't buying, okay? I'm not happy with the way that things are going. And this is our best way to do it. You have two powers. You got voting power and you have buying power. Our money matters, our dollars, where we spend them at, and where we cast our vote in the battles. If you don't go up to those polls and exercise your civic duty, then I don't want to hear your mouth. This is how I feel.
That's right. I agree with you. You said you put a mouthful of words there, boo. You hung them dry that time. Yes. That you want to add in there on anything there?
Well, she's
Go
really
ahead.
said
everything.
Everything needed to be said.
Most definitely. I feel that I have to go back to a point that Mr. Ambrose said. He said that it doesn't take more than 15 minutes to go into those polls and make an impact, by casting your vote. And that's exactly how it happened with me this past weekend. Yesterday, to be more specifically, I had volunteered to do some literature drop-in at an apartment complex, volunteering with the Jefferson County Democratic Party. Needless to say, I finished earlier than I expected, and I did have a comrade that helped me with that. And I think we were at a stoplight, and we were at that stoplight like near the Port Arthur Public Library, and then I just turned over to him and I'm like, hey, we should just go ahead and vote. Like, it's right there a couple yards away. And then that's when it clicked. I'm like, oh, this is a whole lot simpler than it was for people of my background a couple decades ago. That segues into a point that that LaDonna said. It wasn't easy for a lot of our ancestors. It most definitely was. It was made harder. I'm not gonna say it was hard just because. No, it was made harder for people that were Black and brown. And so when it comes down to it, it's not just a civic. It's not just power. It's not just a right, but it's a privilege. It's and a responsibility. As a Latino man, I could say that there are a lot of my peers who are around my age. They can't cast a single ballot because they're undocumented. And as a Latino man, I take their interests in mind when I go into those polls and take upon that decision and make that decision that helps people like those who don't have that privilege. So yeah, I mean, you really think about the current socio-political climate. We are reaping the long-term consequences of backwards laws that were enacted decades ago. We're reaping those consequences now. And so now more than ever, it's necessary that as young people, we go out there and get more young people involved in this process, because we now have the power. We now have the privilege. We now have the responsibility to make sure that what we're going through right now is not something that our kids have to go through or our kids have to go through. So yeah, it's not just a right, it's a responsibility.
You're right. You're right, CJ. Can I ask you, how is the oh, hello, Chris Jones, going on? I want to ask you, what is how is the numbers? How do you feel about Hispanic, Latino voting this election?
Um,
Man,
first I would like to give a shout out to Chris Jones. He's actually one of the few people that inspired and motivated me to get involved in the community. So hello there. Good evening, Mr. Jones. But um, I don't have access to those numbers, at hand. But going off of social media and how vocal a lot of Latino youth is, I do believe we're seeing um, a massive shift in participation when it comes to Latinos and voting. Not only that, but in the Port Arthur elections, I think for the first time not for the first time, don't hold me to that, but we do see an influx of Latino candidates. And so I feel that moving forward, not only the Latino votes, but Latinos in leadership positions at the local, state, and national level is there's a good forecast. So one thing I will say though is that the Latino vote is most definitely split right down the middle. I can't tell you that there's a lot of concentration to the Republican or the Democratic side. It's straight down the middle, and I feel that a lot of that has to do with a point I made previously, civic education, and not only that, but a lot of Latinos aren't necessarily educated in our political heritage. A lot of times when we talk about culture, uh, it's often ignored what our political heritage is. So I feel that we are starting to see a lot of people, a lot of Latinos specifically, get involved. Not just young people, but older generations who previously, for a reason or another, were apathetic to the democratic process.
Awesome. I know Donna, you want to add to that, but I do agree with CJ is that it's by their the Latino Hispanic they are not educated on the political ring and what it mean for them. So that's why it seemed like it's divided straight down the middle. But if we can continue to express and educate that, and that's just like all of us, we all have to be educated on things we need to do. You hit it right on in there. You're right. But
I, th-
go ahead. I'm sorry.
okay, I'd like to add something. I think that the Latino vote is split down the middle because oftentimes we want to vote our conscience. We want to vote our moral integrity. I think that the Republican Party has been hijacked by Donald Trump because he's not a Republican and he's not a Democrat. He is for his self.
So,
He's neither Republican nor Democrat. Republicans cannot honestly vote for Donald Trump with a clear conscience, and he's saying grab him by the pussy, and he's saying do all these different things with COVID, because typically the Republican Party has been pro-life, it's been pro-business, this and that, and different things to, and all of that has fallen by the wayside because he's lied on a bunch of the tax breaks and done a bunch of things that are foolish and ridiculous, that doesn't actually align with the Republican Party, and none of it aligns with the Democratic Party. I think that it's time for us to make a change in the White House because he doesn't represent either. He doesn't represent Democrats and he doesn't represent Republicans. He represents himself and himself alone. He needs to go effective immediately. I am super excited to do whatever I can for the Latino organizations and our Hispanic listeners. If they have questions, if they have things that they may need to have addressed about healthcare, about abortion, about climate change, about, just different policy areas and agendas that they may want to address that they don't really have the answers, and they're getting mixed signals. Sometimes you need to talk to somebody that can break these things down and make it plain to you, well, fool, they're not error, because Trump is running a bunch of game. We have got to vote, and we have got to vote for Biden, because Trump morally represents nobody. He represents none of us.
On that same vein, the reason why I voted for Biden is because once again it all comes down to civic education. You know, it's the responsibility of the voter to actually go and check the platform they're voting for. In the Democratic Party, one of their platform points is multiculturalism. If people know about Latino heritage and just the origins of the concept of Latinidad, multiculturalism is not just a point in time. No, it is the foundation. So whenever I see the Democratic Party, not only do I see the party of young people, but I see it as a party of Latinos. And LaDonna made a good point. A lot of times, the reason why that vote is split right down the middle is because you have a bunch of sycophants who just parrot Trump talking points as if it's truth, when we know that it's far from the truth. One example, the whole question about the oil and petroleum industry and how Biden is coming after your jobs and he wants you to be jobless. Any sensible Democrat knows that we need to expand our energy portfolio and be a leading competitor in the energy industry at the international level, and we cannot be at that level if we don't invest into renewable energy. But the way Donald Trump spun it is, oh, he is after your jobs. And when you look at, specifically this area, Southeast Texas, who are those that hold those jobs more? Minorities, black and brown bodies, black and brown arms are the ones that drive that industry. So of course, like I said, they take the material and they completely water it down and feed people these talking points. And so when it comes down to it, another issue that Latinos get a very watered down talking point is abortion. It's no surprise that Latinos, more specifically Mexican Americans, the majority are Catholic. So of course there's a lot of religious religious thought processes made behind the decisions, and not only that, but a lot of traditional family values. I had the privilege of sitting down with Congressman Nick Lamson last week, and it was in a room with me, my twin brother, and another young Latino that's involved with the Democratic Party. And he said, why do you think Latinos lean more conservative in this area? He said, is it perhaps because a majority of them are Catholic? And my colleague, my friend, his name is Luis. He pointed out, of course that's his upbringing. He's a Catholic and he's very involved with the Catholic Church and does amazing work with them. He said it's exactly that. And Congressman Lamson looked straight in the eye and said, then how am I a Democrat? And I'm a Catholic too. So you see, that's the main issue here. You don't have a lot of people stepping up to the plate to educate people about political thought. And so with what LaDonna said, that's really much appreciated with those other individuals stepping up and saying, this is what it is and this is what it isn't.
Cloney, you like to add in there, Cloney?
I just say this. Both of these people that killed me tonight, Miss LaDonna and CJ, they just killed me tonight. I would say that I would I would say that
what, tell me this.
about Donald. Um, I would say Donald Trump, number one, is an unfit leader to be our commander in chief for the next 4 years. If we look at it, Joe Biden believes facts. Donald Trump doesn't. Joe Biden has a plan. Donald Trump hasn't. He served as the commander in chief for 4 years, and he does not have a plan at all.
Not one plan at all.
Not
I was going outside today and trying to figure out. I was looking for the plan, the one about the healthcare, and he said we're going to have is out there. So have you seen it?
Nope, I haven't seen it at all.
Yeah, I'm still looking for it. It's been 4 years, and he told us just the other night that it's out there somewhere. So I'm still looking for it. So tell me about the environment in right now that we're in, and how can I know that if we vote the right way and we vote for Biden and we have a plan going forward, I feel confident in our economy will get better. We will have a plan to shut down the COVID. That he mocks all the time as a joke, but COVID 19 is real.
It is real. It is real. And if you can look at so many people that have died and that have left this world because of this virus, Donald Trump is the type of person who thinks everything is going to go away. He says, well, okay, it's going to go away. It's going to disappear. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. But I think that whenever we vote, we're voting to keep the environment clean. We're voting to have a safe and clean planet to live on. That's why it is so important. It is imperative that we vote Joe Biden in and Donald Trump out. I think that vote them in, and they're going to do everything that they can to make the United States great again. When Donald Trump says he's going to make America great again, he's literally saying make America white again. And I think that it's just a sad world that we're living in, to have a leader in the Oval Office and doesn't care about anyone but himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we have to push people to get out and to vote. I was earlier today. I was passing out cards. It had Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's picture on there, and it had some other stuff in there. And as I was walking, as I was walking and put them on the door, there were two men sitting in their apartment with the door wide open. And I literally asked them, "Hey, have you voted?" And they said, "No, we haven't voted yet. Not going to rush." And I told them, I said, "Okay, well, coming up, this is the last week to vote." And so I left them a card. I left it outside, and this white man literally said, I won't repeat what he said. He said, "I can't stand any of those crooked MFs." And he was talking about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And I said, okay, and I just walked away. People will vote for who they want to vote for. It's their opinion. If they vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, that's good. If they vote for Donald Trump, that's even perfect. Your vote is your vote. You don't have to tell nobody. You ain't got to put it on Facebook. You don't have to go all over social media and tell people, well, I voted for this person, I voted for that person. It's not about who you voted for. Your vote is your vote. But I will say this. If Donald Trump wins this election on November the 3rd, it's going to be another sad 4 years that he serves as our commander-in-chief. So if we want change, now is the time to affect change. Not just talk about change, but be about change. Walk it like you talk it. A lot of people walk the walk but don't talk the talk. And that is the problem that we're facing in this generation, that we have so many people who will walk the walk but don't talk the talk. And I just think that as young leaders, we have to push that. We have to keep trying, and keep trying until this battle is won. And so I just think that if we do this, we won't have George Floyd's or Breonna Taylor's, Black lives, blue lives, and all lives will matter if we vote.
Yes, if we vote, we'll make things different. We want things different. We want to sit at the table. Let me ask you this, Clonie, is there why there's a lot of empathy amongst young people?
Well, I stated this earlier that the voter empathy, the main reason why the young people aren't getting out to vote is because their parents never did it.
Right.
And I just think that it's a sad reality that this voter apathy is turned out the way it should be turned out. It shouldn't be like this. The reason why we see a lot of voter apathy taking place is because we see a lot of older people jealous of the younger generation.
Wow.
We have a lot of older people who are jealous of young people because they're doing the right thing and they didn't. The reason why we're doing the right thing is because our parents taught us how to be respectful. Our parents taught us how to stand up when a lady entered the room. Our parents taught us to open the door for a lady. Our parents taught us to pull a chair out so a lady could sit down. And that is why the voter apathy is the way that it is, because a lot of older generation are jealous of the young people because they are voting and they didn't vote when they was a little boy, when they was a little girl. So I think that is the most critical reason that the voter apathy is so off the wall, because our parents never voted. They didn't teach us how to be respectful. They didn't teach us how to do all this other stuff. So I think that really one of the main reasons why young people aren't voting is because their parents never voted, or their parents never taught them anything. Now
They encourage right.
They're not encouraging, and their parents taught them how to light that blunt up and puff and pass it to them.
Right.
Their parents taught them how to drink Crown Royal and Hennessy and all that other stuff. They taught them that stuff. They taught them how to cuss people out and slap folk and talk crazy to them. They taught them that, but they never ever taught them the things that they need to know in life, and they never ever taught them the things that they need to have in the near future whenever they step out into the real world and whenever they get ready to go on with their life. So again, I think that is the reason why the voter apathy is not where it should be, because their parents never taught them to vote, or number one, they feel like that their vote just doesn't matter, and they think that every young person thinks that their vote just doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, because you exercised your right, you stood in that long line, and you did what you needed to do. So since you did that, I'm going to go find somebody else who haven't voted. I'm going to go find a young brother or a young sister who hasn't voted, and I'm going to draw them in. And I'm going to draw them and say, okay, hey, if you can go stand in the line for some concert tickets, if you can stand in line for the newest shoes that just came out, but you can't stand in line to exercise your right to vote.
That's right. Stand in
It's sad,
line,
but it's pitiful.
right? Stand in line for a Popeye chicken sandwich, but they can't
Right,
stand in line to vote.
right.
That's something that we've got to refocus our people's mind and condition them. And I thank you guys for coming on with this, and I'm enjoying you guys. I'm gonna have to invite you back because I dedicated this month of October as a voters' right month. So everything is going to be about election and voting and getting the young people out to vote, the old people out to vote, getting everybody out to vote. Let's shift a little bit. Let's talk about race relations. And I'll go continue with you, Cloney. Let's kind of discuss that a little bit.
Well, when we look at the race relation, um, we look at that all men are created equal. Um, it's to live in a country that really embraces that principle. Um, and when you embrace that principle and when you push that principle, uh, you won't have, you will not have a cop, you will not have a cop put their knee on someone's neck
Mm-hmm.
for 8 minutes, for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
Right.
You will not have, you will not have someone shoot up a young girl, but you don't charge them, you charge the house that they shot in. When you do that, talking about George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, um, Ahmaud Arbery, the list goes on and on. And when we think about that, black lives, blue lives, and all lives will matter. And when we push that principle and when we embrace that principle, then we will not have George Floyd's or Breonna Taylor's in our streets. And a lot of people, honestly, they're not doing anything with themselves. They either dropped out of school, they either on drugs, they're either in jail, or they're dead. So it is our job. So the race relation is that all men are created equal.
Mm-hmm.
That we embrace that principle.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that happens, we will not have George Floyd, Breonna Taylor's. We'll have black lives, blue lives, and all lives will matter
Right.
when we think about the race relation.
Right. Right.
We have what is called the most racist president in the United States. We have our own president that is racist. And if you look at it, watch this, 100, a hundred, he appointed 198 Supreme Court judge. And guess what? Not now one of them is African American.
Absolutely.
198 Supreme Court judges that this man, this so-called president appointed, and not now one of them is African American. As I said, we have to vote Joe Biden in and Donald Trump out. Because I promise you this, after November 3rd, Donald Trump has already said, if he does not win on November 3rd, he told the Proud Boys to be on standby.
That's right.
And then when the reporter asked him, did you say that the Proud Boys should be on standby? And he said, no, I don't know who the Proud Boys are.
Yeah. You're
He
right.
lies. This
He
man,
lies every day. Yeah.
he lies every single day. And people are dying because of the virus and they're being shot up. But you have a man that wakes up every single day who lies and who does everything, who does all the wrong thing, but he's still living. So again, I think that I think that race is very important in all offices. I just think that we need to have I just think that we need to have some change. And when we have change, we have to be the change. And I,
Yeah,
I, I
yeah.
know I said Supreme Court justice, but I mean Supreme Court judges.
Judges,
Yeah,
right, right, you're
I
right.
mean
I knew
Supreme
what you're
Court.
saying. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it starts at the top. We gotta continue to have faith and continue to push and continue to push these people out of the door and put some fresh meat in and with people with has a plan that we can live by and not live with fear. What do
You
you?
know me, I'm all for the heads that's gonna roll. I say
Oh,
heads need
I didn't
to
know
roll.
you was around, girl. Well, how you been? All right,
No, I just think that heads need to roll.
that's
You
right.
know, sometimes as young people, what we have to do, we have to just let them know by removing their ass. You got to be removed. And the
CJ.
best way to remove you
Mhm.
is by voting and making sure that you're no longer elected or electable. You got to go.
Let's get CJ to join in right here now. CJ, what how you feel about the relationships, race relations here in the United States, and what can we do to improve it?
There's a lot of things I could say about race relations, but I do want to start by saying we have to stop acting so surprised about Donald Trump being racist because that's not a that's not a novelty. That's not a that's not a new thing. I think we all knew the system was designed for white men with white men in mind. So the system itself has like I think Trump's administration has really exposed the system for what it is, a white man system. And while we're talking about a white man system, we have to understand the dynamic that they set in place. Um, so when it comes to talking about race, I convert back to my my scholarship. You know, the what I've learned, and I analyze race through a critical lens using critical race theory. So when I talk about critical race theory, you know, I talk about subcultures, dominant cultures, ersatz culture. But for this specific question, I'm just going to talk about the dominant culture. Here in the United States, the dominant culture is white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, upper middle class. So that is the dominant culture, and the dominant culture sets those expectations, those laws, those rules that ultimately keep them in power. So what does that have to do with us? You know, to battle this hegemonic structure, we need to take a counter hegemonic um, approach and challenge the power structure. And how do we challenge the power structure? Utilizing, you know, thought, ideology. Not only that, but activating that thought into action. So embodying that change that we want to see, but acting according to those acting according to our words. And voting is one of the biggest ways of doing that. Organizing is the ultimate goal, or not goal, the ultimate tool to achieve that goal of challenging, you know, that racist society. I mean, I think we're at a point in time where we have to confront our past as a country. And, you know, I'm cautious as to counting myself in part of that past because that past wasn't my past. That past actually hurt brown people like me, black and brown people. Another thing when we talk about race relations is we have to understand that black and brown solidarity is a must need. We have to understand that black and brown people have not gone through the same thing, but there are a lot of things that parallel. Now, when will it converge? Convergence come with uniting and challenging that power structure. You know, I think it was either you or LaDonna or both of y'all that brought up poll taxes. Not a lot of people know that, but Mexican Americans had to pay poll taxes as well. In fact, it's even here in it happened locally in Beaumont, Texas. Recently, I've been doing work with Dr. Miguel Chavez, quick shout out to Dr. Miguel Chavez and everything that he's doing with Lamar University's history department and his Beaumont Latino Oral History Project. You know, I'm kind of involved in that I'm involved in that project, and that involves going through a lot of old articles. And I found one article about how LULAC, the League of United Latin American Citizens, would sell tamales so they could help other people pay their poll taxes. So poll taxes have also been one of the obstacles that Mexican American and, you know, in general Latin Americans have here in the United States have had to go through. Racism, most definitely. I mean, look at the current administration. Trump started his campaign by saying that Mexicans, you know, were illegals, criminal, rapists. He said a lot of things. So, you know, this whole administration was built on demonizing Mexican Americans. And I think we're seeing the consequences even now, to where we see a lot of Trump sympathizers saying that, you know, Mexicans have to go back to where they came from. Well, you know, I'd hate to break it to you. I don't know if you fell asleep in 8th grade history, but Texas was Mexico. We've been here. We're still here. And there's a reason why Tejas was Tejas before Tejas was Texas. So
I got a question. Just on a side note, I'm sorry to stop you, but I'd like to ask you and CLONIE about, how do the young people feel about the COVID response? How are you guys feeling about the coronavirus response from the current president, and him saying that it's not affecting young people and it's just going to go away and it's going to be magic and whatever? What do you guys really I know what the older people feel because I'm in that older group, but what are the young people saying about coronavirus?
I feel that it's a shame that younger people are taking it more serious than older people, quite frankly. I had this conversation with one of my peers earlier, and she said that it was quite discouraging to see that as a young person, she was taking those precautions necessary to stay safe. But when she looks on social media, it's always the older generation that aren't taking it serious. You know, that could be an isolated you know, event, but when it comes down to it, I do believe that the young people are taking this serious, and we absolutely don't stand by Trump's observations. This has affected young people, and I've heard horror stories where, you know, young people who previously never had any conditions pass away because of COVID. You know, people who were healthy. So I think it's a bunch of bullshit. You know, excuse my French, but it's bullshit what he said. It does affect us.
For real though.
Yes. So, CLONIE, man, I appreciate you and CJ to come on. It's been very, very interesting in hearing you guys out. And also, LaDonna, I'd like to ask if we can get your Young Democratic group together and along with CJ and CLONIE on Tuesday as we continue to push towards the finish line of early voting, and we want to make sure we spread the news that it's voting time and we must vote. Um, so, is that possible? We'll make that happen. So, CLONIE, as we get ready to close the show, give us a brief of your statement that we are powerful, and explain to them why we are powerful.
Well, number one, I stated earlier, we are powerful because number one, uh, we don't let anyone despise us or talk about us any kind of way. We are powerful simply because we don't just talk about change. We are about change.
Right.
We don't just walk the walk, but we talk the talk. And I think that each and every person, each and every young person, or each and every generation are powerful because their vote is their voice. Um, and I think that each and every person will have a voice on the voice of their own opinion because we are the next generation. Myself and CJ, we're the next generation.
You
So
are the next
it's
generation. You are the next
so
generation.
it is our job while we're in our younger stages and while we're in school and doing all of this, it's our job to push to get more young people active in the community.
That's right.
I've been all last week. I was working at the polls in Port Arthur. We're doing it big, doing it great. We're pushing people and getting people out to vote.
Hmm.
And I just think that after a while, if me and CJ work together, we'll draw young people in and give them an opportunity to exercise their right to get out and vote. And to piggyback off of what Ladonna said about the COVID-19 pandemic, um, it's very important. It's not only important, but it's vital that we try to stay safe at all times, that we try to wear our masks, that we try to socially distance ourselves from one another. When we look at this racist so-called president, this is the same man who said this virus is going to go away, it's going to disappear, and how he says that he's not going to wear a mask because he doesn't want to. Um, if you want to live and if you want to stay safe, then you got to wear a mask. You got to
Hmm.
just make sure you wash your hands and just try to stay safe. Don't try to touch nobody. Don't try to do all that hugging and stuff. No. Just stay safe and just wear your mask and protect yourself at all times. And again, what CJ said a few minutes ago, um, I think that the young people, some young people are taking it more seriously than the older generation. I've had a friend of mine who I went to school with. He tested positive for the virus twice, and when he tested again the third time, he tested negative. So I mean, we're trying our best to stay safe. I'm trying not to go out as much, but again, it's the older people, the younger people are taking it more seriously than the older people. And if we just stay safe and just do all that we can to try to just stay safe, because COVID-19 is real. If anybody in this world say that COVID-19 is not real, they are lying to you. COVID-19 is real.
It is
If you
real.
if you can look at just so many people who have left this world because of this virus, it's
It's
And
real.
it's affecting young and old people alike.
That's right.
yes,
And
it's
you
affecting
know,
young and older people.
and we don't have a plan to solve it right now. So, with that parting words, CJ and uh, Cloney, guys, I really appreciate you guys for joining us tonight, and hope to have you back again as we push for the last. We push for the last of the early voting, which ends on Friday. So we want to continue to push these people on our podcast on Tuesdays. And again, like I said earlier, that our show, all our podcasts, is dedicated uh, to voting in our communities, and to keep pushing and fighting, and also promote our candidate of our choice. Now, that's one other choice. Before I hang up, before we go, make sure you stay online, because I've got something to discuss with you guys after the podcast here. So, with that part of words, let me just tell folks this. Knowledge is Power Podcast Live is a platform to share important information by educating the Southeast Texas African American communities with vibrant info on health, education, local politics, business, and personal financing. We enjoy you. I enjoy doing this just because it is reaching out and touching a lot of people. And I would like for you to share our podcast. We are on YouTube, and we're also on Facebook. And you can find us on LinkedIn and Twitter. So that parting word saying, we thank you again for joining us. And join us Tuesday. We've got more to share with you with
Can I say
CLONIE.
one
And
thing?
yeah, yes, go ahead.
I just want to say again, thank you again for this opportunity for allowing myself and CJ to come on. I will say this last thing and I'm done. Vote, but not only vote, pray. Vote and pray. And that's all I
Yeah.
have to say.
CJ, any parting words?
Most definitely. I appreciate for once again having me on your platform once again. And when it comes to young people voting, you know, we're not a dime a dozen. We're out there, and not only that, but a lot of our peers are coming of age, and we have a lot of young, like first time young voters. So I know a lot of times this term has been thrown around, the blue wave, but I think we're seeing a new blue wave, and I think it's the young blue wave.
That's it.
So with that saying, we have power, and we have well, we're coming.
Yeah, we're coming. We're coming. We're getting there. Folks, we thank you so much. LaDonna, I'm sorry. You still there with us?
I definitely am, but
I'll let you close us out tonight.
okay.
All right. Short and sweet.
I just feel like I'm super excited for the young people, and I'm super excited for the energy, and I'm super excited for what's to come. And it is a blue wave happening, and it is a blue wave coming, and it is a blue wave that might consume you. So get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, and let's go out and vote, 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 vote like our life depends on it. And let's not leave a stone unturned. Everybody bring somebody, reach somebody. One reaches seven, and don't leave nobody out. We are here to make the change.
Thank you, everybody. See you Tuesday, 7:30, right here on Knowledge is Power Podcast live.